But I remember being so excited. I was like, Dad, I've got an idea. He was like, cool, send me the business plan. And I was like, okay. So I quickly Googled business plans. I've never done a business plan in my life. I did a BCom, but I've never done a business plan. Delivered it to my dad, and I was like, here. And he's like, he literally barely looked at it. We maybe looked at it for about 5 minutes. And then I came back and I was like, so what do you think? He's like, men's yoga wear, that's a market. And I was like, he's like, no one's doing men's yoga wear, so that's what you should do. Abandon your whole business plan on, one piece niche yoga wear, because no one's ever going to buy it. This is where I think you should be focusing on.
Carla Gubb is a mover and a shaker. The idea for Soulskin, her yoga apparel business, was formed in about 3 days. And since then, it's gone on to be quite the success. The chat with Carla is an interesting one because it's the first conversation I've had where someone still has a full-time job, but is also building a fairly successful side hustle. And the question that inevitably arises from that is, at what point does my side hustle become my main focus? And so in our conversation, Carla and I had a long discussion about that. In fact, it's great to see her thinking on the spot about what her next move should be. She has a lot of ideas and a lot of passion. I have no doubt that Soulskin will be a massive success, and I'll get the joy of saying, you heard it here first. My name is Kieran Naidu, and you're listening to the Self Starters podcast, a place where we learn how to turn our ideas into successful action. And because you're listening, you have no excuse not to get started on your idea right this moment, unless you just want to finish this episode first. So looking at our story bit of your website. And I really loved what you said about you're a serial ideas person. But you at the end of the day, you get zero credit for having a good idea when someone else executes on it. So it's up to you to execute on it. Mm-hmm. And this is the idea that you decided to execute on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did the idea come about? And why did you decide to execute on this one particularly?
I've always had a lot of ideas. I mean, like, I think I did it. Yeah, this is really besides the point, but in terms of like strength finder, strategy, number one, like you.
Come on.
I think that's where we bonded, Kieran. And then ideation was number two. And I think of like new ideas literally on a daily basis. And I was just like, a lot of my friends used to come up to me and be like, oh, Carla, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And I'll just be like, oh, either critique it or put it apart or, tell them to go full steam ahead. And then I just thought to myself one day, I was like, Carla, you're such a hypocrite because you tell people to act on their ideas. You have so many, but there you are just sitting on your, bum doing absolutely nothing about it. So I was driving in the car. I actually remember exactly where I was driving in towards town. I was like, Carla, just pick one. I was like thinking to myself, just pick one and just do it. And then I remember going to yoga that morning and my pants were pissing me off because, I used to be quite self-conscious about like my midsection, and then I used to like my pants always used to fall down, and I always used to just constantly just pull them up. And I was just like, it would be so nice if I just had something that I could just slip on, and I wouldn't have to worry about falling down. And I remember thinking that in the morning of that yoga class, and then on the way to town, I was like, cool, just do it. Design a suit. And see if it works. And so I did my first prototype and I wore it and I loved it. And then I was like, this actually could be a thing. My dad didn't think so. So my dad is so I got up to him and I'm like, Dad, I've got a business plan. Well, I've got a business idea.
Has he heard this from you before?
No. So my dad's he's his own businessman in his own right. Yeah. But I remember being so excited. I was like, Dad, I've got an idea. He was like, cool, send me the business plan. And I was like, okay. So I quickly Googled business plans. I've never done a business plan in my life. I did a BCom, but I've never done a business plan. Googled everything and like spent like hours or like 2 days doing it. Delivered it to my dad. And I was like, here. And he's like, he literally barely looked at it. We maybe looked at it for about 5 minutes. And then I came back and I was like, so what do you think? He's like, Carla, you know what? No one really is going to care about your, actually in less kind terms. No one really gives
you can swear here on the podcast.
about one piece yoga wear. men's yoga wear, that's a market. And I was like, he's like, no one's doing men's yoga wear, so that's what you should do. Abandon your whole business plan on, one piece niche yoga wear because no one's ever going to buy it. This is where I think you should be focusing on. And I remember looking at him and I was just like, my heart broke. I think we didn't speak for about 2 weeks actually. My mom actually had to sit us down and we had to have like a mediation session because I was just like, bro, you've literally just destroyed like your child's dream. She's so excited and you don't even give it like a 2-second plan. I mean, a 2-second thought, because you've really got a better idea or what you think is a better idea. Anyway, long story short, now he wants to buy half the company. So
and then Carla, just
boom,
on that,
Dad.
a question on that, and this is so reminiscent of our time together on Survivor, right? But it's there's a deep passion that you have, and the thing I find hilarious is, your mom having to get involved, after you and your dad not speaking for 2 weeks for an idea that you had. If I look at your timeline, 2 weeks and 3 days ago, so you came up with the idea, you spent 2 days building a business plan. When your dad was like, I don't agree with the idea, you're like, how dare you? I've had this plan for all of 3 days. You better believe in me. But what was it? What was it in Soulskin that really got you fired up? Because as you've mentioned, you had lots of ideas before that. What made you think in that moment when you're driving back from yoga that never mind all these ideas I may have been thinking about for ages, this is the one I want to settle on?
I think it's important to be able to sell what you love. I mean, I'm in sales. That's my full-time job. Don't ask me how I got into sales. You don't study to be into sales, but I'm just born with it. So that's my full-time job. And all of my products and why I've been really successful in sales is because I really believe in the software that I'm selling or the product or whatever it may be. And that's the same thing with Soulskin. When I put it on, I feel like $1,000,000. And I believe in the product because it works. Well, obviously because I designed it. But because it's belief in the product. That's what got me going. When I made my first prototype and I put it on, I was like, damn, this is really nice. I was like, I actually surprised myself how nice it actually was. And then I did obviously like a couple of yoga classes and whatever in it. And then my friends tried it on and they were like, Flip, this is nice. And I was like, yeah, I know. Let's make more. But it was really the fundamental belief that the product would work, which really got me going. Obviously, like apparel is a highly competitive market. But I also found that what got me excited about just creating the whole identity behind the brand was the difference in its identity compared to the rest of the market in terms of yoga wear. So like I felt that obviously, and can I tell you, this actually all happened pretty quickly in terms of like just thought processes and how am I all going to make this fit together.
I'd expect nothing less from you.
2 speeds, 160 or all of it. But when I so firstly with the name, I was like, I was first going to call it like Yoga One because of like one piece wear. And I was like, no, that's way too Star Warsy. And then I was like, Second Skin. I was like, Second Skin. I was like, nah, that's pretty much, I think it's trademarked already. And then I was like, Soul. And then I was like, Soulskin. And then I looked on Instagram if the handle was taken. And I was like, no, it's not taken. This must be fate. And then I realized that I wanted to do like that diversity of you don't have to be one thing, and you don't have to subscribe to the yoga way of life, which is completely namaste all the time. And that's what I hated about current and still presently current yoga brands and athleisure, specifically for yoga and bar and Pilates. It's all incredibly wholesome, but I don't think that is an accurate representation of society and who people are today. So you're allowed to be naughty on a Friday and good on a Monday. You're allowed to, you have a drink on a Friday and be aligned on a Monday. You're allowed to be good and bad, or not good and bad, but everyone's got an angel and a devil within them.
The yoga movement is morphing and changing, and as it gets bigger, right? It's the community changes too. So whilst what I think what you've described is the more stereotypical aspects of what people think yoga is, and it's growing and changing. And I think that's
Yeah.
the exact same thing with apparel. As you've mentioned, apparel's hell of a hard to move into. But if when someone wears clothes, it's something that's deeply personal. And if you can find a
Yeah.
personal attachment with people, and if your story connects, people,
Yeah.
and you have good quality stuff, people will wear it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm always amazed when some brand comes out with a new pair of socks. I'm like, there are too many socks in the market. Like,
Yeah.
why would someone else
Would you
enter
do
this
that?
market? But you can still make, like, just because there are 500 incumbents in a space doesn't mean you can't be the 501st.
100%.
And
But
and with the Solskin story, sorry, go for it.
no, I just I think that's no one. So my also whole ethos behind this was, you go to a restaurant and it's got pizza, pasta, meat, steak, sushi, everything on the menu, like a mug and bean. Like, the average food is not going to be great. But if you go to a sushi restaurant specifically for sushi, it's going to be great. If you go to a steak restaurant specifically for steak, it's going to be good. So I feel like with diversity, it becomes like it lessens the quality of your general offering. So that's why I wanted to just do one pieces. So I wanted to be really, really good at just doing full piece suits, which a yoga brand or an apparel brand actually hasn't done before. So I thought that maybe would set me apart. But now I've realized that I actually do need to do more. I've got lots of plans for this thing in the future, but I will have to expand into other pieces, like 2 pieces and whatever it may be. But I just wanted to be good at really good at one thing in the beginning, because I feel like if you become a master of that, then the rest, becomes, in terms of focus. You can't focus. If you focus on one thing at a time, you'll get that done properly, rather than spreading your capacity among, different
100%,
styles, different variations, different sets. Everything becomes diluted. So my goal was to just be really good at one pieces. And yeah, I think that's
especially
what I wanted to
especially
say.
as you're starting out, right? You have limited resources. You need to make sure that
Yeah.
your idea works and that it resonates. And so putting all your eggs into the proverbial basket is
Yeah.
never the worst thing. The thing I
Yeah.
also love about your story, and I want to go back to deep diving into the beginnings of it, but just finding an idea that resonates with yourself and it's something that you would use. That seems to be a commonality as I speak to people on the podcast. It's amazed me, just from my very academic background, how people don't necessarily do all the stuff that I've become used to as a strategy consultant, which is due diligence and testing the market and all of that. People ask the question, does it resonate with me? Yes. And if once they've said yes, it's, can I make a product that I would be proud of? If the answer is yes to that, they quickly go out to test. And it's amazing. That's all it really takes to find something, a really good concept and build on it.
Agree.
How did you?
And it's easier.
Yeah?
It's easier to create something as an extension of yourself. And if I look
Yes.
at Soulskin is me. It's literally me in a brand. You cannot. It's almost like just bespoke Carla Gubb. I couldn't think of a more accurate thing like yoga and party than Carla. That's just 2 different parts of my personality. I like things tight. I like things well fitted. I like to be able to go front right in a yoga studio, front left on a dance floor. But one of the recent quote that I read by Naval Ravikant was, earn with your mind, not with your time. And your mind is obviously an extension of yourself. But if you're earning with your time, the return is not going to be as exponential as if you earn with your mind. And your mind is obviously a direct extension of yourself. And I thought, when I read that, it just resonated with me. And I was just like, it actually gave me re-inspiration, because I've been putting Soulskin a little bit on the back burner recently, just because of my full-time job's been pretty intense, and I have to give that the respect that it deserves.
Yeah.
But I read this quote the other day and I was just like, oh, inspiration. Yes. This is what you should be doing. This is what you need to be doing. And I just needed that little kick up the bum to be like, okay, cool, back on track. You got this.
And that's why I'm excited for us to have a chat, because I think where you are between navigating Solskin and having a full-time job, I think a lot of people are either in that space or would actually love to be having the same
Yeah.
conundrum that you're having. A lot of people have an idea that they use having a full-time job as an excuse to not even get it started. You've managed to get it started, keep your full-time job in between this, manage a COVID pandemic, go play Survivor, and you're still doing all of it.
That too.
So
Yeah.
I want to go back to the beginning. So your mom mediates between you and your dad, and you mentioned very quickly after that you went and got a prototype sorted. Now I love how you say that very casually, like that's just a normal thing that people do. I had this idea, I got a prototype sorted. Like how does one, for people listening who have an idea, want to go into this? How did you go about that process of getting your first idea to actually into physical form?
Google is your best friend ever. I mean, I'm lucky because I've got a lot of friends who are in the apparel industry. So one of my friends, Matteo, he owns a brand called Float, which is very popular in Cape Town. So immediately, when I thought about this, I asked him out for coffee and I said, Maddie, I want to do this. Obviously, I'm not your competitor because I'm not in surfer wear, t-shirts. I'm in yoga. Please just tell me your secrets. Tell me what I need to do.
Yeah.
And even if I was a direct competitor of his, he probably would have told me anyway, because that's what friends are for. Connections are everything. So I'd say number one, identify the people in your inner circle or outer circle that are in a similar industry and take them out for coffee and ask for advice. I had never heard of a CMT before. CMT is cut, make, trim. So these are the people that actually create the patterns. You have to go get your fabric. You obviously have to source that yourself. But Matteo was the one who was just like, start with the CMT and then you can take it from there. So from point A was friend. Friend told me about how to, just start the whole production process. And then I was pretty much on my own from there, to be honest. In terms of apparel, all you really need is a CMT. And to make your patterns and refine those, make them perfect. Took a lot of time. I was going in my lunch breaks, after work, before work, going on fabric runs because I had to go find the fabric myself too. Activewear in Cape Town is very hard because there's only literally 2 activewear suppliers in the whole city. And my fabric was also very specific because I wanted recycled polyester because of the whole sustainable thing for yoga, and that was a criteria. So it took me a long time to find that. But yeah, just to answer your question, I know I'm going off topic.
No, you're actually directly answering.
Okay, good. And then that's first prototype, and then you test it, and then it's cool. So you want to test more, you want to make more, specifically with apparel. Then you go into production. So once you're happy with your sample, they call them samples, you then buy a hell of a lot more fabric. You give them size curves, which is also something that I never knew about, but it's like how many mediums, how many smalls, how many extra smalls, larges, which is actually so much harder to decide than you think, especially when you don't know anything about the market that you're operating in. You don't know who's going to like it, who's not going to like it. Do I order 10 extra larges? Do I order 10 extra smalls? Then if you order the wrong size curve, then you're stuck with stock. So it's best to start small. And that's what I did. I literally just did mainly smalls and mediums. And then I found that my extra smalls actually needed more. My large, the larges is just pretty standard. But I did a small run in the beginning and then tested it out. And then obviously made better decisions or better informed decisions based on the small batches. Because I've heard horror stories of people ordering, like if you're doing mass production. So I was with a boutique CMT originally. I'm with another CMT now because I had a bit of a nightmare with the other CMT. That's a whole nother story. But what was I going to say? If you're going mass production, then you have to do big quantities. They won't take, less than like 1,000 units. But with boutique CMTs, you can, do a minimum of like 30 units, for example. So you can manage your costs at an early stage rather than just going full steam ahead and just test out what's actually going to work or not.
Which I think is so critical. you don't want to be caught out with a minimum order of 10,000 units, and
No.
you haven't tested
No.
whether it's going to work or not.
No. But like
And
that's
so,
what a lot of people have done. Sorry to interrupt you, but just in terms of the
no, go for it.
apparel side, like I've also got a lot of friends who are in swimwear in Cape Town, and some of them get their costumes made in Bali, and then they import them. So the finished product is made in Bali, and then they import in South Africa, but then they have to pay import tax on that final product, and that import tax is like 40% of the final garment. So that's why a lot of the local swimwears that are made overseas are incredibly expensive. You're looking at like 900 rand just for a bikini top or a bikini bottom. So I'd highly suggest, if you can, get your products made locally. It's not just because of local, it's the local is lekker, which it is. It's just a hell of a lot easier to manage, and you're not going to be paying final product import tax. Because a lot of people want to get them done offshore, but just if you can do it here, do it here.
And so once you got your first order, how were the sales? Was it quite easy? Were they flying off the shelf, or
No, I mean,
was that quite a process?
to be honest, I've actually, when I say I've done little to no marketing, I've done little to no marketing. Pretty much all word of mouth and local, people following my Instagram. So it's always been slow because I've never done like a mass marketing campaign or like a, mass like product push or whatever it may be. So it's always just like been very manageable. For myself, I do everything, so it kind of has to be manageable, and that's probably why I've also kind of put off the marketing because as soon as I would advertise, I would get sales, and I'm like, fuck, now I have to fucking do everything, which is fine.
A victim of your own success.
There's worse problems to have. There's a lot worse problems to have, but like that's also why I've been because I am doing everything from packing the orders to fulfilling the orders to sending them out to delivery to dealing with DMs, social media, updating the website, stock, whatever it is, design, running back forth, CMT. I'm literally do everything. It's quite scary when you do get a lot of orders because the time pressure is just like, it kind of squeezes you. And now that I'm talking out loud, I think that's also probably why I've kind of just like freaked out a little bit. It was just all getting a bit too much. And I've realized that I do need to hire someone to help me. So that is actually my next step. I'm gonna try to find someone who believes in this just as much as I do. Because you know what? Humans actually can't do everything alone. We are inherently social creatures. We have family for a reason. We have friends for a reason. Companies have many people in them for a reason, because you can't do everything alone. And that's a big lesson that I've learned recently. And it's something that I have to accept because I like doing everything alone, but I can't.
And how have you found the process of creation? So, you like me are very much an ideas person. I find I get very excited when I start something, and then very quickly I like the negative thoughts come in. Like for me, my regular one is, oh, this is boring now. Or like, oh, maybe there's something else I could do. It's not going as fast as I'd like. And with the podcast, I mean, already I've been like, oh, jeepers, I'm enjoying it, but all I do is like I get a guest, I do some research and ask them questions, and then I enjoy it for that moment, and then it's on to the next one, right? And it can be repetitive, and it's, for me, it's the first time in life where I'm like, actually, consistency is key. How's it been for you in this thing of, you've had many ideas, it's the first one that you've actually taken hold of, and it's gone really far, and you're doing really well. What's the mindset? Talk to me about how you interact. Or do you have off days where you're like, oh, you know what, I'm just going to deactivate the Instagram account and I'm just going to focus on my full-time job? Or is it always on in the back of your mind, like, this is actually, it's my side hustle for now, but I actually want this to become my main thing?
Yeah, good question. Because like I actually feel like I've been neglecting this as my side hustle completely because I've been focusing too much on I'm not focusing too much, like I've got a really good job. I love my job. I love my company. I love the people that I work with. I love what I'm doing. And it also deserves the respect in its time because I'm getting paid to do it.
Absolutely.
Duh. If you're watching this, Rob, I am working, I promise. But with Soulskin, I've actually haven't given it enough attention recently. I don't like inspiration is perishable, unfortunately. And I feel like towards the end of last year, I just launched my new range. I was super excited about it. And then my inspiration kind of just plummeted. There was something that went wrong with one of the products, which I wasn't really happy with. But that really didn't. I mean, it didn't affect the whole general outlook or anything. But I just realized that my chutzpah for it had kind of disappeared. And I think that's fine because everything comes and it ebbs and it flows. But it's crazy how that inspiration is so short-lived and how you can get complacent, or you can get not complacent. Complacent is not the right word. You can be so amped about something and then all of a sudden you're not amped about it anymore. And I feel like I've been amped about Soulskin for, a year and a half. And then from last year, 6 months, I wasn't that amped anymore. And I don't know what happened. I think maybe it's not like I didn't believe in it, because I still believe in it. And it pisses me off that I'm not spending all day working on it, because I genuinely do feel like it could be a big brand. But sorry, I don't even know if I'm answering this question correctly. I'm kind of just trying to figure it out in my head. Let me get back. So in terms of when you want something and you really want it, you're going to make it happen no matter what. So, for example, when I was launching, just before I launched, I've done 2 ranges. So the first one was obviously when I first launched, and then the second one came out in like September last year. Just before then, 6 months before then, I decided 6 months before September, I was like, cool, we're doing a new range. And I worked on it every single day. But to the point where I was actually at burnout. I was like waking up at 5, going to fittings in my lunch break, going, fulfilling all the orders, working on the website, working on photographs, working on social media, or like working on like just everything in any spare time, any spare minute that I had. Plus, on top of that, exercise, social life, my run club that I help run, family, and I was actually exhausted by the time it launched, and I was like, I've actually lost all the inspiration that I'd had for six months. I was so happy about it, and then when it launched, I was like, oh, I'm done. Like, I'm over this now because I've just worked so bloody hard. I'm like burnt out. And I actually kind of just I'm just like thinking about this. This is like actually quite a therapeutic conversation. I just want to process exactly what happened.
That's a quality I possess.
Yeah, well done. I think the consistency got me that far, and then I burnt out a little bit, to be honest.
And do you think no? But here's a question about that, right? And it's something I've been thinking about quite a bit also. Do you also think that maybe it's the North Star, or whatever you're pushing to, is potentially out of whack? Because here's the reason why I say that is because that's what has happened to me multiple times. Where I push for a goal, but the goal is very finite. So if it's, I'll give you an example. It's like, I want to be at 10% body fat, and you push and you push and you push, and then you get to 10% body fat, and you're like, well, shit, now what, right? And it's a lot of athletes suffer from this, where it's like Olympians, they want to get a gold medal, and they push and they push and they push, and they have this deep sense of purpose up until the point where they actually achieve their goal and they get a gold medal at the Olympics, and then they're like, okay, well, now what? And it stems from, well, what is the underlying purpose behind that action, right? And so I ask you, is the case, were you so excited about the idea of having a new line launch, that once that was done, it was like, well, now what?
Yeah.
And it's more about what is the, the underlying purpose for Soulskin.
Yeah. No, so that's the thing. It's like, I know I've got a greater vision for it, so I don't think it was like, now what? Because I know what I want to do with it
Yeah.
next. I do actually just think it was just complete burnout. I wasn't excited about it anymore. And I know that I maybe needed more help, and I was too scared to ask for it. Because I think I could manage everything by myself, but I actually couldn't. So maybe I just shied away from that, because instead of asking for help, I kind of just retreated. Which is something that I want to do now, is actually just ask. I'm speaking to someone at the moment who's keen to do this with me. But I think that doing it alone actually was actually to my detriment. Because I feel like it's because it's my baby, and it's my, it's, I mean, yeah, it's literally just, it's me on a platter. It's very hard for me to give control of that to someone, even if it's just like fulfilling orders. I'm like, well, will she pack it right? Will they pack it right? Will they, put like a little personal note or whatever it may be? Or if they're posting on social, is that message really like aligned with me? So like, I need to relinquish that control. I mean, that is okay. Just not, doesn't have to be you all the time. Because like, to be honest, I'm not doing it right now, and someone else needs to do it. So if I'm not doing it, then someone else needs to do it to keep the thing alive and kicking. But what was I saying? So I know what I want to do with this brand, and that's what pisses me off, that I haven't been working on it in the past 6 months. Like, I've trademarked it in South Africa. I got a trademark literally as soon as I got the name. My friend Rob lawyer friend, said I'd never get the trademark, and I did. So, and then I want to trademark it in the UK, and Australia, and potentially USA, but probably not. Just key markets, even Dubai. I mean, I've had interest from girls in London who want to bring to Soulskin London, and then Soulskin Dubai. I had a girl when I just started. She followed my brand, and she was like, I'd really like to bring this to Dubai, and she wanted to do a massive order, but at that time I just didn't have the capacity to make it happen, and I hadn't even launched my website then. So I was just like, give me some time, and then then I'll chat with you. But these are all just little opportunities that, like, I know as soon as someone comes across the brand, they do subscribe to its identity in terms of the balance and the yoga party, and the angel with the devil inside type of ethos. And I know that can resonate globally. And I know that my product makes women feel fucking incredible. Excuse my language. The fit's incredible. I need someone that can do styles for me really quickly, because I don't have the capacity or the time to do that. And I need to scale. So like, I know what I need to do next. And I can see it and I can sense it. But maybe recently it's me just being like, shit, I just don't know how I'm going to get there by myself. And it's now me realizing that I actually do need to ask for help. Like, my dad, as I said, he wants to buy half my company, but like, cool, then I'm working with dad, but like, you're not gonna help me, design clothes. Or not, like I know obviously it's a different type of investment, but it's I need an operational partner. Or I just do it by myself, but I just don't really want to do it by myself anymore. I think it's important to have a team to bounce ideas off, and to think of things that you haven't thought of, and to bring different type of style or concepts and thoughts to the product, or its like ultimate destination. I don't know. I'm babbling.
No, I'm enjoying your insight. My question to you is: so, at what point, do you start thinking about maybe I leave the job and work on Soulskin permanently? And I think this is a very important question, because I think a lot of people are in your realm. In fact, a lot of people, I think, romanticize the idea of just quitting their job and starting something, as opposed to going, I think, the more sensible and smart route, which is what you've done, which is, let me start something whilst I have a stable income. Let me try and build it as far as I can. until I reach a point of success where the next feasible question, or the next reasonable question is, should I be working full time on something else? So I think that's a mark of soul skin success. I think that's a very valid question that you should be asking yourself. And I'd love to know. So when does it become an option for you? Is it an option already? What's holding you back if that's the case?
So again, this also goes back to my thing of like, I like the balance. I've always said, oh no, it's like my side hustle because it's also my passion project because it tickles my creative side and my right brain, and then my corporate does my left brain. But ultimately, I would actually just like to be working on something that's stimulating my right brain all the time, which is soul skin and just creating. I'm not at the capacity yet to give up my full-time job to work on soul skin full-time. I think I could if I took the risk. But I've got a really good job, so it's going to be a very hard. It would be at presently really stupid to give it up. But the tough thing is then it's you splitting your time. So I've actually thought about. I hope my boss isn't listening. I had like a beautiful epiphany in the beginning of the year, like how I was going to do everything at the same time. I was like, I always thought it was going to be when I was listening. I was said to myself, I was going to go look at the stars on New Year and I was going to go figure it out. And then it turned out it was like 10 days later on the beach and I was looking at clouds and I just figured out the whole thing. And I was going to ask my boss, who they really do. I work 2 days at home, 3 days at the office anyway. They're letting me go work remotely in London now, so they trust me. But almost be like a 4-day work week with them or 3-day, 2-day, that type of split. I do feel like I can do my full-time job in 3 days of very hard work and manage it like that. I think that would be my ultimate transition at the moment, is to kind of split my weeks between the two jobs instead of hours, because at the moment when you've got an 8 to 5, you've literally got that hour lunch break, or 2 hours before and then 2 hours afterwards. And you can't, I know no one, Elon Musk is a different flipping level who works, at 18-hour days. Like the normal human being, you will burn yourself out. If you are working deep work for, 2 hours before work, 4 hours of work, 1 hour during a lunch break, it's not healthy. So I need to figure out a good balance, and then slowly transition into a full-time soul skin. If that, splitting of time proves successful and soul skin really starts to take off, then I wouldn't hesitate with quitting my full-time job. Obviously the money has to add up then too, like how many suits you got. My dad said to me, he's like, how many suits you got to sell to quit your job? I was like, a lot, Daddy. A lot. A lot of suits. But then that's scale, and that's why I need lots of designs and I need lots of options for people to choose from. I need quick turnarounds, quick styles, limited but quick. And at the moment I just don't have the capacity to do that, but it's what I really want to do. Every time I see something, I'm like, oh, I want to make that. But I want to make that. It takes time to make that because you go through prototypes, you go through samples, you go through different fabrics, you go through production. It's just like it's a full thing. And
you can see you can see the passion for, obviously for your baby, for your creation, and it's I love the practical nature of the questions you're asking, because it's the stuff that like someone like me, through this conversation, hopefully one day when I'm in that position I can short circuit it, because I'll be like, well, what did Carla do, or how did she answer the question? And I mean that is the brilliance of, I'd like to pat myself on the back, like the brilliance of the podcast. It's for people who on the outside looking in would be like, I'd love to start something, and we can short circuit all these issues. And it's something that comes up time and time again, right? It's when you've created something from scratch, you have the innate feeling that no one will love this as much as I do. They just can't possibly do it.
No, but see, that's where they go wrong immediately, is that self-belief is everything. If you think you're going to fail, then don't start. Yeah. To be honest. I mean, I'd rather just try, and if you do fail, then at least you tried. I mean, and that was my whole mentality. I was like, if I try, I try. If I fail, like cool, whatever. I can just find another idea and try that one. And that's also one of my things with people and ideas is that one of my worst people come like, oh, I've got a really good idea. I'm like, oh really? Tell me about it. Oh no, you're gonna steal it. I'm like, bro, do you know how much time it takes to make an idea come to life? And do you know how much time and effort it's gonna take me to steal your idea? What makes you think I'm going to steal your idea when I want to make my own ideas come true? And I'm like, only you can benefit from sharing an idea, because then you're open to criticism and you're opening from like, maybe opening a can of worms that you're never going to, recover from. And like rather, shut it down now and then waste all that time and like hiding, your $1 billion idea that no one's ever going to do. And you might not even do yourself. You know what I mean? Like if like it's, like people's opinions are so important in that like idea phase, and that like don't be scared to share your idea, because no one's going to steal it and you can only learn from it, if you know what I mean.
And that's the paradox, right? Is that people are so clingy onto ideas that they think are good, but there are very few really original ideas. And a lot of people like sometimes you'll share an idea and people are like, oh yeah, I've actually seen something similar to that, and then you go and look and like, oh shit, someone is already doing it.
Yeah, literally.
So you can only learn
I had an idea.
by sharing.
I had an idea about, okay, this is gonna sound a bit obscure, but camel toe. So camel toe, I was like kind of like a ball box for like cricketers, but like for girls, like a camel cup. I was gonna call them camel cups. So then girls can wear like tight pants or whatever, and like just like put that in there. Like there's no camel toe. Oh, guess what? Google it. Oh, what's it? It's a camel. There's literally something out there that does that. I was like, how?
But that's exactly it, right? At least now you've already thrown away the camel cup idea, and you can move to phase 2. And so tell me, like, and this is, I think, is another thing that's quite practical, and a lot of people find themselves in a similar position. So you have your baby, and the idea of bringing someone else in is hard. But it's the right thing to do, and yet it's still something that weighs up on your mind. How do you practically go about changing that? So yes, you hire someone. Is it just that you're taking people through the most rigorous hiring process the world has ever seen? How do you alleviate those fears and bring someone in?
I mean, so I've alleviated the fears by realizing that I can't do it by myself. And then I have found someone that I want to work with. She's amazing. She's young. She's super spunky. I just told her to look at the website and just look at the product and just see if there's something that she would be interested in. And she is. She has just got a new job now too, but that's fine. I mean, if you're both doing side hustles, then that's okay too. But it really was just like a connection thing. I was just like, I saw her, and then she was talking about that she was, she's keen to learn, and she's interested in XYZ. And I was like, it just came to me. It just like, what feels right is right. What feels wrong is wrong. And that just felt right. I was like, cool, just have a look, and then let's chat if you're keen. It hasn't gone any further than that. She said she was keen. And then it's my bad because I've just been trying to get all my ducks in a row, just trying to figure out, all just the moving parts and what needs to be done before I bring her on board, essentially. Because then it's also interesting. It's just like, cool, I've built this from the beginning, from scratch. So it is 100% mine, but I also want her to be incentivized. So it's like, obviously, I think I'm going to like pay her for the first 3 months or whatever. And then it depends on like success. If she's interested, then perhaps do equity, or like, how do you incentivize someone to love your product or love your brand as much as you do? So that's kind of what I'm grappling with at the moment, is like, what is the best way to bring someone on board? Is it through passion? Is it through money? Is it through equity? Is it through, I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. I'll let you know what I do.
I mean, it really depends also, I guess, on their reason for coming. Do they see it as a paycheck? Do they believe in the brand? Do they, identify with you as a leader? Time will tell. Again, I can speak at length from a more academic perspective as a strategy consultant, but being in the throngs of it, I'll look to you for the answer. Does it daunt you to think that you'll have someone on your payroll?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'll let you know when it happens. I think it's good question. I think yes, but I back the product enough. So that's not the scary part. I think the scary part is maybe being responsible for another human being's happiness. Actually, I mean, if you think about how much work affects you, and like, what happens if you do something wrong, or she messes up, or I mess up, or something doesn't go right, and it's like those type of maybe like relationship issues, maybe that are more daunting to me than having someone on my payroll. It's more of the what happens if I hate what she's doing? What happens if she hates how I'm doing things? Or it's more of the personal aspect that's a bit scary, and relinquishing control and trusting in someone to do it just as well as you would, or better.
But I've already told you. I think it speaks to your care for your product, which I think is, I think is so necessary and so important, and it shows how much you care. But two, I think it's also great to show that like the thing that's keeping you up at night is worrying about like, will she be okay? Will my employee be happy and be fine? And I think that speaks to, I think, well, for me that's a positive indication of, if you're trying to build something with someone, that's how you go about it. It's not simply a transaction of you do what I ask and I pay you at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Right. It's something bigger than that.
Yeah. I mean, and I said to her, I was like, because we've got quite different styles, and I was like, I want to see I was like, go into Pinterest and just show me what you want to make, and we'll make it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And that's the beauty of going, being able to having your own company, or say not company, your own product, is that you can create things that you love. And some people might not love them, but other people will. And some people will like what other people create and other people won't. And that's how it all works. But at least you can just go, you can just I was just like, you explore, you tell me what you like, and then let's just figure it out. And then like create like a range from then. But it is what you've touched on is super important for me, just for people to be happy. And I don't know, maybe one day when Solskin's a multinational corporation, we'll have like an employee happiness index, and hopefully it'll be up there. What are those things, like top 100 happiest places to work? I feel like
I think you've touched. I think that's something you've touched on that I've always appreciated about you, which is you may not have all the answers now, but you have a deep sense of, or innate belief in yourself and your vision. And despite the murkiness, you'll almost force your way through to that point. What you will unless someone votes you out before then, you'll 100% force your way through to that point. What let's just say things go great with employee number one. What's your hopes and dreams for Solskin? I won't say 10 years, because 10 years it's easy to project to 10 years because you can make it up as you go. But in the next 2 years, let's use a 2-year horizon. What's the evolution?
Okay, 2 years. I mean, I want to, as I said, I want to get those trademarks in, but that will take longer. I want to launch my original print, which I actually have made, and it's incredible. It's so beautiful. I actually got it designed like a year and a half ago, not a year ago. And it's, I can just say what it is, whatever. It's like leopard print, but it's fat ladies doing yoga, and they're all naked in these rosettes. And it's just such an original like print. So I want to launch that, and it should be launched ready. So that's like 2-3 months from now. Have my first employee, or co-partner, or co-founder, whatever that may be, and then be able to produce a range once every 2 months at least, and expand and scale maybe to a new country like London or Dubai. I think those are yeah, pretty fundamental. Just small steps, but to get to the big one. I need to start producing a lot more. I need to start creating a lot more just designs and variety. Have someone help me do that, and then expand.
Carl, the one thing I'd love to know about Soulskin is, like when you reflect back since the start, it seems like you've had a journey of ups and downs. But what are some of the successes in the period you've been most proud of?
Just the feedback from women and seeing people. If I go to a yoga class, actually one of my favorites was just happened twice when I go to a yoga class and the teachers are wearing my stuff, but they all both of them have been pregnant. And like that is it's a testament to how good the fabric is, that you can wear that suit literally while your baby is growing and it still looks absolutely amazing. And like they've both had their babies now and they both still wear the suits, if you know what I mean. So that was very cool for me. It's happened a couple of times when I go to just classes and they just seeing people wear my suits. That's my highlight. I've had a couple of girls who've like struggled with body positivity, just seeing themselves in like a just hard on themselves, and for even just too scared to try the suit on because it is a very tight, form hugging suit. And I always say to them, just try it on. I will send them to you. So what I do, like, if someone is just scared to buy, I just send them a box, and like with all different sizes and whatever, so they can just try it in the comfort of their own home. And then I know it's almost like a guaranteed sale because they don't want to take them off. So they're like, there's like, I just had a couple of girls come to me and just be like, you've made me feel so sexy and you've made me feel like a woman and you've made me feel so like happy in my own skin. And I'm like, that is what it is. It's a soul skin. It's the second skin for your soul. And I'm like, that's my highlights, is making women feel incredible. And you can see it when they put them on, like everything just changes. And that's literally, that's my highlight. And that's the reason why I will continue doing this. To just see that light is insane. It's so cool. It's so cool. It's like, it makes me very happy. It makes me proud.
That's amazing. And tell me, let's almost speak on the converse of that. What have been some of your biggest learnings, especially, and I'll contextualize it, especially for someone like you. So one, lots of ideas, never really actually gone and executed on one, and then just so what have been some of your learnings executing on an idea, and then two, doing it while still having a full-time job?
Okay, so the biggest learning that I made, and you'll find this funny as well because it kind of filtered into the way I played Survivor. I trust people way too easily. You can't trust everyone. I had a big problem with my first CMT. She pretty much stole my design. I went to her, obviously, like I paid all this money for product development and the pattern, and then I went to a studio one day because she was like, oh, I made a sample in black velvet. And I was like, okay, that sounds cool. I was like, can I see it? And she was like, oh yeah, it's in my car. And I was like, okay, cool. Anyway, I walked downstairs and she took out the sample and she put her label on it. And it had a price tag of 850 rand on it. And I was like, what? She's like, oh, no, I took it to this music festival. And like, I was just trying to like test the market for you. I was just like, what the? Like NDA right now. She got a message and a half from me. And also you were so deep, and I was so deep in then, because she had literally just done all my production. She had done all my product development or sampling. Like leaving her at that stage would have been a disaster for me. So I had to like carry through. But that biggest lesson was just don't trust people. Not everyone is there for your best interests. Protect your ideas, make them sign NDAs. It sounds lame, but if specifically with apparel, you can't actually patent a pattern unless it's got like a design functionality or feature on it that makes it patentable. But design patent you're never going to get for apparel. But you can get your suppliers to sign an agreement that is your IP essentially. And then with the job, full-time job, everything is about time management. The only reason why I was be able to do both is because I read the 5 a.m. Club. I know that sounds so lame, but that book literally changed my life. It really did. You've got 4 hours when you wake up at 5, 4 to 3 hours, depending on when you get to work. You got those 4 hours on everyone. It's a time where you're not distracted. It's a time where you can, you're not getting phone calls or SMSs, WhatsApps. Sorry, not in 1996 anymore. It's just a time where like I used to plan my whole day or to get ahead of my day. So I would wake up at 5, just have like a half an hour by myself, drink my coffee, and then think about what I need to do. Go onto my website, fill orders, do what I need to do, plan where I need to be, go to work, execute, and just restart that again. So time management, if you're doing your full-time job plus a side hustle, is vital. You will not be able to do it without managing your time efficiently. It's almost impossible.
There's something else I want to ask you just about that. What are some of the misconceptions you had about creation? So taking idea and creating, right? So for me, it's almost like I fall in love with the idea. I fall out of love in the creation process because I'm lazy or I find it daunting, or I realize it's not as easy. So I'll give you a silly example, and you can attest it. I think I'm quite a funny person. I've always wanted to do stand up. The moment I start writing a joke, I'm like, oh no, but that's not exactly how it's meant to come across. And then I'm like, oh, never mind, and I just get over it because I'm like, it's easier to be funny in my head than actually to face the facts that it's hard to write material and deal with it. So like,
I think
what are some of your misconceptions with
but
creation?
On that point, why you're struggling when you write it down is because, so this is that thing with like the left brain and the right brain. When you're visualizing it in your head, that's right brain and that's creativity. And then as soon as you write it down, that's logical. So you're putting the creativity into logic, and then maybe it doesn't make as much sense anymore. So you're actually taking away the creativity by writing that down. And like, rather than just doing like a stand up off the cuff, or feeding off the energy, going with that thought. But then as soon as you're trying to put it, you're kind of killing it. Do you know what I mean?
It's weird. It is weird. Like when I've emceed stuff before, I generally write out everything that I want, and I never look at it again. And then I use that as a base, and I just wing it. But it's like, but the point is, there's a difficulty in that creation, right? There's an idea that just never gets any further because I hit a block when I'm trying to create. You've gone well past that. Was it exciting? Was it difficult?
I didn't even think about it, to be honest, and that's how I knew it was right. So it was like birth, like, go, like I was like, cool idea. I want to do this. Perfect. What can I call it? Okay, cool, perfect. Business plan. Dad doesn't like it. I don't care. I'm gonna do it anyway. Oh, I can do a website. Oh, I can think about the packaging. Oh, I can think about the branding. I can think about the imagery. Everything just came so naturally, and like what feels right is right, and what feels wrong is wrong. And there was nothing about that process that I didn't like, to be honest. And create, I suppose, because it's fluid. It should be fluid. You shouldn't, obviously, like, writers get writer's block, and at the moment I've got some sort of block because I'm not, kicking myself a little bit further. I'm like, I've what's the word?
Plateaued.
Plateaued a little bit, or just paused. And like, so I feel like I've got that writer's block in creativity. So maybe I'm at the point now where your jokes, you've written it down. You're like, fuck.
I haven't even. The problem is I haven't even written it down. I've tried to, and I'm like, fuck this.
Okay.
Fuck it.
Like I just need to start again, and like as I said earlier, like inspiration is perishable. So once you've got that inspiration, act on it immediately because it will die. it's vital to work on that feeling, on that rhythm of just going like, cool, I got this, and just don't stop.
Cool. I have 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
2 more questions for you.
Okay. Hit me.
Okay. Yeah, Carl. So in the last portion of the podcast, we generally love to ask people some personal questions just as they reflect back on their journey. So I think the first part is, given where you are today with Soulskins, are you proud of yourself?
Yes.
You can elaborate.
Okay. I am proud of myself because it's been hard. It has not been easy. Just based on what it's taken in just terms of mental capacity, and like, it's actually really scary putting yourself out there. Being vulnerable, essentially, especially if it's like a product that literally is you on a platter. People are either gonna love it or they hate it. But people did love it or do love it. So that makes me really proud. I touched on it earlier, but it's a feeling that I can't actually explain, seeing someone happy in your creation. And that's really, all that I could ask for and more.
So Carla, if you were standing in front of your 6-year-old self and you had the chance to tell them, there was something in your journey to come that you could really look forward to, what would you tell them?
I would tell my 6-year-old self that it's going to be a wild ride. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, but you got this. Don't compare yourself to anyone. You've got a path. Stick to it. You're going to try get yourself off that path, but you're going to get back on. And there is light at the end of that. She's got a lot to look forward to, but she just got to stay on the right track. And the hard thing is actually staying on the right path. I mean, I think that's what we all spend our life doing, is trying to find that path. And the hard part is finding it, but the easy part is staying on it.
Okay, so then last question of the podcast. Now that you've been here, you understand what it's about in terms of showcasing self-starter stories. Who do you know who you think that for the listeners, their self-starter story would be worth listening to? Cleo
Markopoulos Aitken. She's my best friend. And she started Style Rotate, which is this rental fashion. Also, we're talking about like apparel and whatever. Sustainable fashion rental agency in Cape Town. She's doing really well. And then she's also got her own content creation agency called Mood. She was the ex-fashion director of Cosmo. She runs a charity project called Cora. And then I run the Run for Coffee Run Club with her. So she's literally an empire by herself. She's 31 at the end of this year. She's incredible. You got a lot to learn from her. I mean, I learn from her every day. So
awesome.
My girl crush.
I look forward to you putting us in touch.
Definitely. I was actually thinking about that. But you guys know each other, don't you? You know each other from ECT, don't you?
I mean, just to say we know each other would be be like me saying, "Oh, Elon Musk and I come from the same suburb because he's from Pretoria and I'm from Joburg." Cool. No, I think that's a story worth hearing.
Yeah, I will actually put you guys in touch because I think she would be great to be interviewed. She's done some really cool stuff. Women Crush Wednesday.
This comes out on a Wednesday, so that fits perfectly.
Oh, does it? Okay, cute.
And with that, Carla, I say thank you so much. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. And I think a lot to learn. And what I love is just how open and honest and real you are. You don't cut corners, nor do you try and hide your words. You say it like it is, and it's raw and it's true, and I think very insightful. I think for anyone like me who's been trying to figure it out and trying to find the courage to start something, I think hearing the trials and tribulations and all the joys that come along with creating something, it's very eye-opening. So thank you.